professor here at the college, and I'd like to welcome all of you to the final installment of the St. Bernard History Lecture Series. Tonight will be the final installment. We've worked our way up to this, and it will be St. Bernard history from 2000 to 2005. But as most of us know, something pretty major happened then, so it'll really be Ron Chapman talking about Hurricane Katrina. All right? So with all that, I look forward to Ron Chapman delivering the lecture, Hurricane Katrina.
Greetings. Y'all can hear me okay? Great. To open with, first of all, a little bit of an apology. I tend to talk a little long. I'll try not to. I have my wife over there going to give me a signal, which I may or may not acknowledge. Also, I tend to speak a little fast. So if I speak too fast, signal it. And since I'm on prednisone right now, I may speak a little bit too fast. So be sure to let me know if I do. I was fortunate to study under Stephen Ambrose, and I remember one of the things he taught me was the old lesson of this Baptist minister. First you tell them what you're going to tell them, then you tell them, and you tell them what you're going to tell them. So, beginning with that, this lecture tonight is really about wetlands in St. Bernard Parish, which is tied to the whole wetlands and development of wetlands and loss of wetlands in Louisiana. So, to begin with how Louisiana formed. Then I'm going to go into how the wetlands have been destroyed. Then I'm going to talk about the vulnerability of the city of New Orleans and St. Bernard Parish. And then I'm going to conclude with what's supposed to be protecting us now. So with that being said, let's roll. This is the state of Louisiana right now. And here you can see this is the Red River. This is what they call the Mississippi River Delta. It goes all the way up here, because this is where the Mississippi started dumping all of its sediment. A lot of people don't realize new land. It begins with the Ice Age. The ice cap was about 5 miles thick in New York City. Sea levels were down about 350 feet. And it hung around for a long, long time, over 100,000 years. About 12,000 years ago, it began to melt. And when it melted, this is what the river system looked like they believed before it melted. This is the ice cap. And if you notice the ice cap limb, the red there, when you get to this slide, you see what happened. There was an embayment here of water that came all the way up here. And this is the ice ledge. And this is the Missouri River drainage, and that's the Ohio River drainage. These two rivers were formed by the melting ice cap. And as all that water melted out, and all that sediment that was crushed underneath those glaciers washed out, these are the period of times and gradually filled in this entire area. So this really, you could say, is the delta of the Mississippi River. And as it continued its way down, it pushed off the continental shelf and it created what we call the bird's foot, which is the Louisiana coastline. These are the different tributaries. This is how the Mississippi River works. You ever wash your car? You take the hose, you got the nozzle on, and you turn the water on, it's whipping around. That's what the Mississippi River naturally did. It swung back and forth, spewing fresh water and heavy sediment. That's what built Louisiana. And it goes back and forth, so you can see these different deltas as they built. This continues until 1718, when the city of New Orleans was founded, and they decided that they had to protect the city from being washed, so they built a little levee in front of Boucay, canals on either side. So the water, when the Mississippi rose, would hit the levee, go around the city, drop down the sides, and go to the back of town. Because you know, it's higher, closer to the river, and it slopes to the back. So that's the way they did it. Over time, as the Mississippi River Valley was improved and built, they built levees, they built levees, they built levees, they built levees. And as a consequence, they constrained the river. As we continued the levee system down the river, we kept it from doing this. So this natural process of hundreds of thousands of years, or at least 12,000 years here, of the Mississippi River sweeping back and forth and dumping fresh water and vast amounts of sediment building up land was taken away. It was now going straight out the river and off the continental shelf. So as a consequence, the normal tidal movement, storm movement, which eroded land, but would eventually be built back again, the cycle wasn't taking place. It was being eroded, but it wasn't being rebuilt. So, more facts? Mark Twain. Crookedest river in the world. It took 1,300 miles to go, the same crook could fly in 675 because it wiggles, and it's constantly in movement. A lot of people aren't aware of that. It brings in 400 million tons of sediment into the Gulf each year. We talk about rebuilding our landmass. Do you realize how much that is? Put it this way, it's a pile of earth 2 miles square and 150 feet high. But rather than having that spread around our coastline, it's going off the continental shelf because we've constrained the river. I remember when Hurricane Katrina hit, there was a channel interviewing me. The lady said, what can we do to build Louisiana? I said, it won't be done. He says, why not? I said, well, take down all the levees from Cairo, Illinois to New Orleans into the mouth of the river. Let the Mississippi run free for about 3,000 or 4,000 years. You might have something. But meantime, you're going to lose all your cities. It's not going to happen. That's the reality. It discharges 375 billion gallons of water a day, fresh water. Nobody throws into it except the Red River. Everything flows out. So it's constrained in that regard. Land loss, it's been significant. How much? A football field an hour is the estimate. 16.57 square miles per year. Now, to give you an idea how bad Hurricane Katrina was, we had some Eric's first here. And I remember I was working with them, giving lectures to the kids. These amazing kids that came in from all over the place, gutting our houses. We remember them well. One time I was talking to Richard Brown, and he had a piece of paper stuck on the wall. I looked at it, I said, this can't be for real. He says, yeah. He said, it was just published by the U.S. government. In 3 weeks between Hurricane Katrina and Rita, we lost 151 square miles. 9.1 years of normal erosion in 3 weeks. Anybody who hunts or fishes knows when it went back out in the marsh, it wasn't the same. It was gone. You know? And that's the result of that. By 2040, they estimate that 1 million acres of coastline will be gone from total, which is the size of Rhode Island. And they estimate the Gulf of Mexico could be moving inland by 33 miles. So this is what we're dealing with. And we have a lot of issues out there and a lot of competing forces saying what has to be done to fix it. I think everybody's heart's in the right place, but they're conflicting interests. And I feel sorry for the person that's got to sort it out, because somehow we've got to save our coastline. Because it's not only just protecting ourselves and our city, it's protecting our industry and our economy in some ways. Because every time we lose coastline, people don't realize that. We only allow about 12 miles out. Every time the coastline recedes, those oil wells that go beyond that limit fall out of our jurisdiction. We don't get royalties. Okay? That's just one factor. Commercial fishing, they estimate, can be reduced by 30%. Simply because of that. Because you don't realize, you know, they put the slide in, which is freshwater marsh, brackish marsh, and saltwater marsh. And it's the interplay of these three that make our fisheries what they are. And as we're losing land mass and losing the marshes, these marshes are disappearing. So the interplay of waters and environment is changing the ability for these fish to reproduce in the numbers they used to. This is what Louisiana estimate looked like in 1839, 1870, 1993. This is an actual photograph. We lost, this is Mystico. We estimate we lost 80,000 acres of cypress swamp in Mystico, simply because of saltwater intrusion. We know that. And that's what got us in Betsy. It's interesting. You opened up in 1964, Betsy came, we went underwater. It was a highlight. You know. Katrina, you'll see, that's what did us in. Causes of land loss, first of all, we forget about it. The timber industry. After the Civil War and Reconstruction went into the morbid period, these big industrialists came in and they took our timber. They took our cypress trees and cut them all down and hauled them away. They put nickels an acre. That's what it looked like. Look at that barrier to storm surge. It's absolutely amazing. Look at the size of the girth of that tree. But then these guys came. Look at massive. I had a picture, a friend of mine, Bowie Lumber Company. They're not lumber anymore because they bought up all the land. Their sawmill burned down in 1910. And I was in his office and I had a picture of 4 lumberjacks standing with these big axes side by side. And I looked at the background, it was a tree trunk, it was a cypress tree. You know, that's what they took. This was the beginning of taking me back. This is interesting here. I want you to notice this because I'm going to make another picture later on. Notice this tall tree. It serves a purpose. What they would do is they'd hang a block and tackle on the top of that, and they would support it, and they would use that as a junction point for dragging trees to it, so they could chop them up and haul them out. And these are guys cutting down trees. This is a lumber yard. After the trees get cut, hauled out up north. This is a lumber camp in Longville, Louisiana. That's clear cutting. You take everything. And as a result, when it rains, all that water just washes the topsoil away and makes it hard for anything to grow again. They don't care, they make their money on the trees. That's what matters. This is what I'm talking about. What is that? That pole is here. These stripes are still scars in the marsh from over 100 years ago. At the end of these things was each one was a large cypress tree. They cut the tree down and they dragged it through the marsh to the center point, chopped it up and hauled it out. Chopped it up and hauled it out. That's just one small picture showing the devastation and the scars that remain to this day. Those were the soldiers that protected our barrier and our coastline. And they were removed a century ago. That's the beginning of the process. Then we have our friend, Mr. Bell. This is us in St. Bernard. Look at that picture. You can see the trees in the foreground have all been cut so they can get a nice photograph of the explosion. That's the first explosion of the dedication of opening Mr. Go in 1957. Look at that. This is when they were building it with the cypress. It's all cypress. They built it, it was 500 feet wide. It got to be 3,500 feet wide. Because they kept dredging it because it was too shallow for the boats. Because the ground was too soft. It was coffee ground. So what I understand, they realized that early on, in the Johnson administration. But they signed the contracts and too many people were making money off of digging it, so they dug it anyway. But as a consequence, it kept slaving in from the sides, so they kept digging it out and throwing it on the sides to make a levee. You don't make a levee out of those kind of sporals, it's too soft. And it kept getting wider and wider and wider and wider, so it went from 500 to 3,500 feet in some areas, and that was the highway that did its end when that water came in. This here is the Lower Ninth Ward. This is 1933, it's all land. 1976 now. I'll show you where that is here. Because this is Mr. Go. That's this little spot there. That was all land. Gone. This was also there. It's gone. All of this was that cypress swamp. You saw those beautiful cypress trees in that first picture? That's what salt water does. And then this canal here was widened from 500 to 3,500 feet by erosion. It goes all the way down. The idea was to keep ships from having to go fight the current and make a turn to have a direct shot. And they promised us all this great industrial development, which never took place because the ground was too soft for it, and very few ships actually used it. But they built it anyway. This is a close-up showing how eroded and how wide it became. Conspicuous portions of St. Bernard Park and interior marshes deteriorated at an accelerating rate. Land loss along Mr. Go, 74 to 83, 397 acres, 83 to 90, 374 acres, 90 to 2001, 1,151 acres a year. A year lost. Couldn't figure out why. You're all engineers, guys. You can't figure this out. It's called saltwater and dredging. What we're seeing now is a marsh being lost at a rate that exceeds the intentional of digging the canal. It's going quicker than you can dig it. That's how quick it was eroding. The Bro Bill was passed to save 8,400 acres in 14 years. At the same time, we lost 201,000 acres. So that's an attempt by the federal government to fix something at less than 10%. There's a huge gap here. I love John. He's a little basic when he does it. This is a healthy cypress swamp. What it looks like. There's another. There's another. Cypress swamp after Mr. Go. This is before Katrina. Even those are gone now. This tree took that down. There's nothing there. Look at that. You can still see where some beautiful trees were. Look at the size of this trunk right here. That was a beautiful, magnificent tree. It's all gone. Here, look at this all gone. Then you have other problems. Our friend, Woodrow. There's a story there. They say that they accidentally got out because of a hurricane that knocked him in. I don't believe him. I had a guy, Frank Lopez, I used to build, back in my boat building days, I worked with LSU and we were building these saltwater tanks for soft-shell crabs. It was an aquaculture thing. And Frank Lopez and the island, old man down there, bought two systems. I worked close with Frank. We got to talk about nutrients. He said, you know, well, it's live fishing. I said, they lie. He goes, what do you mean they lie? He said, they say that nutrient just got loose. He said, they didn't get loose. He says, I was a boy. He says, you looking over here at Delacroix? He says, what you see? He says, you see all this grass and this marsh grass? He says, when I was a boy, it was trees. It was oak trees. I used to hunt deer and black bear in there. He says, then they brought the nutrient in. Wildlife and fisheries brought them in cages, male and female, male and female, male and female. They went out and they put them out in that marsh as an alternative fur. And they wiped out the mink, they wiped out the muskrat, and they wiped out the wetlands. He says, they're lying about it, it was intentional. Now, who are you going to believe? I believe Frank. He's got no reason to lie. You know? What do? This is taking an area of open marsh and fencing it off. And that's when they finish. They eat the roots so nothing grows. They dig holes in the levees. They're a plague. If a kid out there wants to make some money, I don't know what the price is now. It was $3 a tail. It's $5 a tail. You can make $500 quick because they're like, they call them rats, right? They're like rats out there. $5 a tail bounty on them. Every kid out there looking for a summer job, turn them loose. Because it's killing our levees. It's killing our wetlands. You know, they're horrible little animals. Even if they do represent a baseball team. Any idea what that is? Every purple dot, that little bitty dot, is either a gas or an oil well. Every little orange dot is a platform. Every line is a pipeline. Now, we don't get the royalties every other state of the union gets. Why? Not only that, we have the superport here where all the imported oil is brought in because we have the infrastructure for pipes. We don't get anything out of that either. How can we be so poor when so much oil and so much resources for the rest of the country is dependent upon us? But yet they treat us like second-class citizens. Because my contention always is, we ought to just shut it down. On the grounds that, well, all those pipes are put in underground. Now they're exposed to the water. There may be an environmental accident. We might have to shut them down for safety and inspect them until you give me some money. Something that you would think that way, wouldn't you? But this shows you the impact of how big the oil and gas industry is in our state. This is you've seen and heard of the litigation of the oil canals. This is what it's about. This is 1945. They dug the canals looking for oil and gas. If they found it, they drilled it. They didn't, they just left it. What happened is the water came in and salt water started killing everything. Then it would add more canals. So this is the same area here after all the erosion and later canals are dug. So if you hear all these suits that are going on about the old gas lines and the gas companies and all that, this is basically what it's based upon. A lot of this, though, you know, it's hard to figure because a lot of this was done in the 30s. In the 40s. You know, those companies no longer exist. So how you work your way through that, I guess that's why God made me lawyers, you know, to try to sort that out. But this is the problem, though, because this is the type of damage that was done. So you see, it's a multitude of assaults, okay, that have taken place. Causes, the levee system replenishing fresh water, help destroy things. Navigation canals carved up the marshes. Oil canals contributed by undercutting and allowing saltwater intrusion. Oil drilling caused subsidence. And it's obvious. You take oil and you suck it out the ground, you can have some element of subsidence taking place and depressions. There's a general geological subsidence. I remember talking to Stephen Scoville about that. He says, some of the problem we have, he says, it's nothing to do with us. It has to do with nature. He says, the plate that we're on is gradually, slowly sinking and subsiding. So we have that problem to contend with. The things we're doing are making matters worse. The general geological trend there that works against us. Local litigation has enabled efforts to replenish the marsh. That means who's right and who's wrong? You know, you have an area that salt water's coming in, you give leases to oyster fishermen so they can raise their oysters. And then you decide, wait a minute, we got to try to save the land. We're going to flush fresh water in there and some sediment to try to build a landmass. The oyster fisherman says, you just destroyed my business. I'm going to sue you. He's got a right to his business. We have a right to protect him. How do you work these things out? And that's the problem. It doesn't seem to be a really coordinated plan to try to save the marshes. And St. Bernard Parish, we're all on the front lines. We suffer more than anybody else. And of course, the good truth. The result, we disappear. Slowly, we disappear. Now let's talk to New Orleans. Why was New Orleans and our area so vulnerable? Well, first of all, we're surrounded by water. We don't call it the island of only all for nothing. We live on an island. And there's no question about it. You can see the magnitude. The more this marsh disappears, the closer the water gets to us. This is what New Orleans looked like in their early years. This is the Bouclé. And if you notice the land where it's white, it's high. It's higher closer to the river because the river would overflow its banks and the sediment would drop. So the heavier sediment dropped out first, so it was higher. We know that because you don't take Judge Perez in the heavy rain, you take St. Bernard Highway. Because St. Bernard Highway generally doesn't go to water. This here is 18Jun18. This is basically very rich. These are both bayous, so they're high. And the water used to generally go to the back and flow out to the lake. Well then, in the 1920s, they decided to build up the lakefront. They wanted to build a levee system to protect the city because the water was coming in this way. So you have these canals they dug, outfall canals. Those are for drainage of the city. You know, that's the Baldwin pumps. We started pumping things out. And then they built a seawall, a lot of people are aware of that, out in the lake. And then they backfilled it with sand, dredging. And they built everything from basically Robbie Lee out is all new reclaimed land. So this is them doing it. So they built a seawall. The lighthouse was a lighthouse. It was out the water. They brought it up to where the lighthouse was. They built and sunk the seawall. And then they took gravity chains and they filled it in. And that's what it looked like when it was finished. So there's nothing there. But here's the seawall. And there's Lakeshore Drive. It looks like that. That's probably, I don't know. I don't think that's the industrial canal. It must be Bayou St. John because the airport's not up there. The airport was part of that same project. At the time the airport was built, it was the most modern airport. Lakefront Airport was the most modern airport in the United States.
When was the seawall finished? About what year?
I think 1928, I want to say, somewhere in that area there. So the net result was that's what created the bowl. So this is kind of a caricature, but it shows you that here's the levee. This is the normal river height. These are different St. Louis Cathedral like before. The cathedral even with the normal river height. You know, this is the levee above there. Here's the normal lake height. So that's why you got a lock at the industrial canal because it's different. This is at sea level. This is above sea level. This has to be above sea level, otherwise the river wouldn't flow. It's just got to go down river. So that's the way it works. But you see, we lived at the bottom of a bowl. And what we did was they built this. This is what they built, the Lakeshore Drive and all that. This was the back of the town where the water ran back. Now the water's going to stay. It's got to be pumped out. And this is a view here, similar. It shows we're not a bowl, but a collection of bowls. Here's your guy, this level here. This is 7 feet above sea level, 8 feet above sea level. As you work your way down, this is 0. When you get up here, you get up to 12 feet below sea level. So pick your poison. Find your neighborhood to see how far underwater you're going to be. You know, so that's why this was called the Silver Sliver, and of course the French Quarter, the Isle of Denial, because it didn't flood there. My daughter has a house right about here on Dauphine Street. She had, I think, 18 inches of water for 45 minutes during Katrina. St. Claude did 4 feet. We're only talking a couple of blocks away. That's how quick, how much the gradient is. You know, this is kind of another view of the same thing. This is a more detailed view. Where what they've done is they've taken lines, A, B, C, and run lines this way. And then you follow the line here. But each one of these lines, you can see as you go from the top to the top, even though you've got peaks, these are the different levels that are underwater. So you can really see all these little ripples, all these little bowls, how low you are. And you don't really know what it's like. I had a friend of mine that lived on St. Anne Street, by City Park. Came back from Katrina, figuring out everything's gone, so all it goes in, he says, the lights are on and the air conditioner's on in his house. He had no water. Houses, 2 houses from him, he had water. He said, I not only was on the Metairie Ridge, I was on a pimple on the Metairie Ridge. I didn't go ahead. He says, the only thing I had was a very messy refrigerator to get rid of. He said, but that was minimal. You know, so it just goes to show you, it depends on the terrain, and the terrain is rocky. Most of this area here is all dredged out. You know, because this area here is they suck the water out. It's like sucking the water out of a wet sponge. You collapsed. You know, and that's why you have this gradual subsidence, and that's why it's gotten so low. This area here, I don't have a picture of it here showing development, but this is mostly 1949, post-war years. That's when the whole area of gentility and all that was developed for people to move into. But as they dried it out, it sunk down and became more vulnerable. This is kind of scary. This is a map. This is a similar map. What you see in red is 1 foot above sea level. That alone can keep you awake at night. You know, this is like Pontchartrain. So there's not much that's above sea level. Now we have our hurricanes. These are past storms. This is Betsy. Remember that one?
Yep.
But see, this really isn't all the storms right here really are that accurate. Because before the storm, I bought a house in Natchez 8 weeks before Katrina because I'm afraid of hurricane. Because I sat down and went through, you can go through the past hurricane charts. So I went from 1965 Betsy to at the time 2004, actually it was 2005. And just looked at every hurricane that was coming right up the mouth of the river and turned. 38. I said, you know, I got a bad arm and can't really throw a baseball. You give me 38 baseballs, I'll pitch a strike a complete accident. You know, and it's going to happen. It wasn't an if, it was a when. Okay? And you want to look at this map here because this red line was drawn in by the Corps. This is from the Corps of Engineers, showing the most vulnerable spot for St. Bernard Parish. It's called Track A. This is Betsy, by the way. Came through here. So it didn't cross St. Bernard, but we were on the wrong side of it. And that's what got us. It drove all the water up, missed the go. It was a big storm. But this is Track A. And look at Katrina. She took a beeline on exactly what the Corps said it shouldn't do. And this is what she did. What happened here was she crossed and was supposed to go here as Route 1. I remember telling my wife, I said, this thing's going southwest. There's a problem here. And it drifted down. And then what's called a loop current. It happens occasionally. Where there's a loop current where a bunch of warm water bellows up and gets caught in this current. It got into that current. And that's why it became a Cat 5. And I've always blamed the catastrophe on the Saints. Because I was in Natchez. It was Friday night. The Saints were playing and losing back then. And I called my wife and said, Dad, I just told the weather, they moved the cone. It's over New Orleans. The good news is it's over New Orleans and they have a right. The bad news is it's over New Orleans. What happened is everybody got disgusted. This was another game that they lost. Everybody got drunk, went home that night. Next morning got up, cut their grass, didn't pay attention to the news. Meanwhile, this thing whipped up to a Cat 5 on the 740. So it wasn't until Saturday in the afternoon that people started realizing what the hell is going on. And it was that sudden. And they made a beeline. For the first time, they were right. It went exactly where they said it would go. Look at that thing. I remember telling my wife that her matches, I said, look at this thing. It's an absolute wonder of nature. It's a thing of beauty if you're looking at it from a telescope on some other planet. You know? I said, right now, it's a buzzsaw on its side that's going to chop through us. I said, maybe nothing's going to be left. I said, look at this. The upper bands are in Tennessee. The lower bands are below the Yucatan Peninsula. The western bands are in Mexico, and the eastern bands are past Florida in the Atlantic Ocean. This is a monster. And it was. Look at this eye. That's absolutely gorgeous. It's a perfect circle. It's a circle of death and destruction, but it's a perfect circle of death and destruction. Look at that. I mean, the sheer magnitude of this thing, it's a thing of wonder. And here's all the different shots of it. There's this straight man. And that's when we got it. I remember talking to Curtis. Remember Curtis? I called you. I said, Curtis, what's it like? He goes, man, it's kind of a non-event. I said, where is some rain? I said, there's some water. I said, we got the retainment pond in front. I said, I think there's about 18 inches of water. I said, oh, thank God we dodged the bullet. Right, Curtis? How long was it after that? About an hour or two? An oil game. It turned out to be a lot worse than we thought. But it wasn't the storm itself. It wasn't the wind. It wasn't the rain. It was a bad levee system. Okay? And what happened when it got here, that wind turning in this direction, turned north, and started taking all the water that was driven in and pushed it against Mystico. And Mystico couldn't take it. And they pushed it against the outfall levees. And they couldn't take it. And as a result, we lost the city. This is what happened to the barrier islands. That's what it looked like before. That's now. This is our protection. This is before. I used to fish there. I used to, when I was in high school, I learned how to fly. I used to have guys who used to fly their planes and land on the beach and fish. What are your chances now? Better with sequence. It's amazing. Look at this. That's the Chandelier Islands, Gosha Island, right now. They're gone. Look at that. This is July 17th, August 31st. Incredible. Oops, this is New Orleans. This is what broke. This is 100th Street. Now, one lady kept complaining, I got water in my backyard. I kept saying, oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. When the levee break, come back to it. You know, and she's got water in her backyard again. And he said, don't worry about it. So she told me that last time, right? Were you right then? No, you're not. Okay. This is some old levee breaches, and of course, this is the industrial canal breaches. This is what did New Orleans. The sad thing about this 1965 Hurricane Betsy, I lived right here, we evacuated across to our aunt's house on Beverly Ridge. And when we passed the London Avenue Canal, the water was at the top. And we said, oh my God, everything's going to go in the water. And I read the greatest quotes of all politicians of all time in my life was Vic Skirrow. Because people were worried. The rumor came out that the London Avenue Canal levee broke. You all probably, if you're old enough, you remember it. He had his little silk defense cap on and his raincoat, and he was sitting at the studio, WWL studio, and says, don't believe any false rumors till you hear them from me. I'm thinking, that is the strangest quote I think I've ever heard of politicians say. But anyway, it didn't happen. But in 1970, the plan was to put stops, not levees, but gates at these outfall canals in 1970. 35 years they did nothing. We lost the city of New Orleans because they didn't do anything in 35 years. If they blocked that water coming up wouldn't have been able to come up. The city of New Orleans would have gone. We were gone. We were gone because of Mr. God. This didn't have to happen. This did not have to happen. That's gross negligence on all levels. And of course, this is what it looked like. This is the flood. 9/2/2005. You see the amount of water, 10 feet, 12 feet, 13 feet. And this is a little isle right there. This is the levee at 17th Street Canal. Right by the lady's house. I think the house was right there. Which is gone. The house is completely gone. This is the industrial canal levee that broke. I remember talking to a 60-year-old man. He says, I just heard a big noise. He says, the next thing I knew, he says, water was just pouring in. And he started crying. Right, this is the water coming out back into the industrial canal after the high part of the flood. You know, it still stays for a while. That's it coming back into the breach. This here shows you how much water was in the city. All the dark area is water. It's a space imaging. So this is the 17th Street Canal on this side. So it flooded here with that there. St. Bernard, this is what happened to us. If you look at this thing here, these are all breaches. That means the levee broke. It was toppling these areas. This is the Mr. Go levee. This is the back there. I remember Bob Turner, I saw him on a cruise ship. It wasn't a cruise ship, it was a Baltic ferry boat called the Scotia Prince. And I was talking to Bob, and he says, he said, I did an aerial. He says, you didn't take a hand on right, you just take it and throw it. He says, that's what happened to the levee. He says, it was just like thrown. He says, there was no protection. As soon as the water hit it, it just disappeared. But the levee was never where it's supposed to have been. Because 3 years before Katrina, I was working with Dan Kaluga, and he gave me a levee profile that had the measurement, actual measurements of the levee profile. That levee here was supposed to be 17 feet on this side of this, of the industrial canal here. The Parisburg Bridge, it was supposed to be 14 feet. This levee measured 10 feet, this measured 13 feet. No, I'm sorry, 12 feet. It was 4 feet, 3 feet below level. And I asked him, I said, where are they measuring from? He said, well, it's medallion on the cement pole that they use the height from. I said, Bob, when was the last time you measured the height of the medallion? Because that subsides too. He said, 1984. I said, so wait a minute. The 17-foot levee that they say is there, that Bob Breck's talking about in his models, is really 13, 14 feet, but that was measured from a diagonal, from a cement column that hasn't been measured since 1984. And you wonder why we went underwater? That's gross negligence, as I said. But this is what happened. And this is the amount of water that came in. And that was us. My nephew was on top of the Parish complex. I remember talking to you on the phone before his phone died. I said, Jeffrey, what's going on? He said, Uncle Ron, it's Lake Chalmette. He said, the only thing sticking up, that's it, because you see pictures after the surge went out. He was there when the surge went in. He says, only thing sticking up is the peaks of roofs of two-story houses and the tops of trees. It's all water. It's all water. And that's what it looked like after the water subsided and hung around forever. Let's look at our school, neighborhoods. You remember? That's amazing. How do you get it out of there? How do you do that? I don't know. Really square. Cars on top of roofs. Absolutely amazing. That's my shot. That there was a 30-foot catch I was working on. Obviously, it went to sea in a strange sort of way and didn't survive the storm. That's my neighbor's house. That's my house before and after. That's a lot. Only everything torn up. You remember those signs? 9/11. I can't believe that. It's like, really? You couldn't have come a day earlier or later. You had to put 9/11 on my door. Inside. Actually, ours wasn't that bad. It was a mess. It was better than some. My lovely wife. I'm sure she loves this big. Look at that. Hey, that's what you get. So you get embarrassed. Of course, this is the family portrait. We all remember digging out the Tyvek suits and masks. Right? Remember, there wasn't a sound. They had that strange smell. And there was nothing living. Nothing. I mean, Margaret picked up, I remember, a teapot. There was a little frog in it. We were excited. Life. Life. Something's alive. It's inside. I think that expressed it all. The innocence of childhood. This little teddy bear. Oh. And then we had this. The Murphy also. Left a piece of equipment. Thing was not full to the capacity it was supposed to be. It floated up, came down, hit the piece of forklift, bent the side of it. 50,000 gallons of raw crude oil went out into the parish. So what happened? Lessons of Hurricane Katrina 65 were not learned. No floodgates were put in the canals into the city. Levees allowed us to go without raising proper height, without constructing proper materials, without arming, were not maintained. Levees along Lake Bourne were never constructed. The barrier islands were allowed to deteriorate. EPA says you can't add on to those islands. Why not? Well, you're damaging them. They're washing away. You know, that's what your government is. Right now, the government has laws that you can't take the soil that's got to go off the continental shelf. You can't rebuild with it. Our government is the biggest enemy in the world sometimes. They just have crazy ideas. The barrier islands were allowed. As I said, the federal government did not spend $10 million for levee protection. It would spend $100+ million to repair the property. I remember I asked the guy from the Corps, I said, what did you do with Category 5 levees? He said, do you know what that would cost? That costs $5 billion. Well, you spent $100 billion. What is this about ounces of prevention and ounces of cures that they don't seem to get? I don't know. And the catastrophic failure of the levee system destroyed one of America's oldest and most historic metropolitan areas. Today, where are we? This is the levee system that they built for us. It loops here, goes out here, and goes all the way here. And they finally got stops on the outfall canal. We don't have anything here yet, which I find kind of interesting. And I don't know what they're going to do. I guess it's still in the planning stage somewhere in Washington. But the industrial canal is still open. Now, this thing here on Mr. Go, they've got a bunch of rocks they put at the end of it. I'm not sure what that's going to serve. You know, maybe a storm surge. I'm curious. This is what they say is going to happen, a 500-year storm today. So if another storm like that would hit, the areas here will flood. But this is the amount of flooding you have. So again, picture your house and where it would be. There will be pockets of a lot of water in a 500-year storm, but for the most part, they predict the city won't go underwater. The problem we've got is, this is one system. And if you read yesterday's paper, you'll notice it's divided into 3 categories. There's one system, there's one entity that controls it, but it's in 3 parishes. And so it's being in 3 parishes, Jefferson and Orleans Parish refuse to pay for anything on this side, despite the fact that it will kill them. But no, that's only our parish, you have to pay for it. Our trouble is we've got this massive area we've got to pay for, and our drainage, and we only have 48,000 people. So to raise the taxes enough to maintain that levy, which they're talking about doing, would practically break us. We wouldn't have money to pay for anything else. But they've just as yesterday's paper shifted all responsibility of this levee system to St. Bernard Parish and drainage. That gives us this thing here, 15 feet, 29 feet to maintain. Now maintaining this is going to be an issue because of this. They put T-wall on it. Now those levees are always subsiding. We're always putting clay on top, right underneath, soft so they keep sinking. So the Corps was here 2 years ago, and they did this whole presentation. And I raised my hand and I got finished. Let me ask you something, man. I said, you know, these levees subside. He goes, oh yeah, that's a constant problem. And I said, and we keep putting clay on top, which makes it heavy and they sink. He says, yeah, that's a problem. I said, well, no, it's a problem. I said, well, my question to you is this. You've driven a sheet pile into it, haven't you? He goes, yeah. I said, you put a T-wall, a cement T-wall on top, haven't you? He says, well, yes. I said, fine. I said, so then when the one levee subsides, how do you add on top of it if you've got a T-wall and sheet piling going up? He said, we haven't figured that out yet. But here's the keys. So they threw it to us. In other words, we haven't figured that out, but that's for you to do. And as a consequence, they talk about cracks. This is what they're talking about. The pressure of the levee could push against the seawall and open an opening, which we did. That thing is worrisome. And the thing is, if we don't raise taxes to maintain it, we could potentially be at risk for losing our flood insurance. So what do? How do we cover this expense? This is some serious stuff. This here is showing the overtopping that whole system could do. Because as it goes over the top, there's that arm over here, it'll erode the bottom here until it collapses and the water comes back in. So we are protected better than we ever have before. But there's some issues. And there's another issue. If I go back here to this one. When the Corps was here, I said, look, go back. I get it. I said, you built this tremendous system. I said, it's very interesting. It's 25, 30 feet high. Where's the hole in it? He goes, what do you mean, the hole? I said, where's the hole in it? He goes, why would you want a hole in the levee? I said, well, did you ever think what happens if this levee breaks? The Mississippi River levee breaks, the water's going to flow in. It's not a tidal surge. It's the whole Mississippi basin. It's everything from the Missouri River to the Ohio River. It's 33 states and 3 Canadian provinces. That water's coming in through a breach in this levee, and it's going to reach the height of that levee, which is 31 feet. It'll do it in a matter of probably a day. How do you get anybody out of here? How do you get that water out if this levee breaks? No answer. We're preparing this for storm surge. Well, yeah, but that's not the whole problem. You know that. You're in the French Quarter. You see a ship pass and you wonder, that thing's higher than my head. Yeah. The water is that high. So that worries me. You know, if something would happen, we saw how high the river was just this last spring. If that levee broke and that water came in, there's no way to handle it. Because all the pumps again are now on the dry side, so they would go into water again. Okay, so it's a scary, I think it's a scary proposition. So anyway, right back to where we were. The future, new levees and pump stations provide protection for Plaquemine through Jefferson Parish. We're better off than we ever were. Our back levee system is better than it was. I think it was 4 feet. I think it's around 8, 9 now, something like that. The cost of this maintenance, higher taxes. Because the Corps built it, they threw us the keys and say it's yours to fight over how you're going to pay for it. And that's what the local fight is between Jefferson Orleans and St. Bernard Parish as to how it's to be proportioned. To me, this 3-parish area is regional. It should be a state responsibility. Because if New Orleans disappears, guess what? The state's gone. So they should step into it, but they're not. So we've got a real legal, political issue taking place here. Indications, subsidence may become a problem earlier than planned. They recently found out that subsidence along the older levee systems are occurring a little faster than they thought. No real means of raising these levees now because with the T-walls on top of them, you can't add to them. So my concern is, like I said, that they have a big piece of cement on top of sheet pile and then mud below it, which makes a bending motion that would be easy to break. It's because it's not properly supported. And they haven't figured out how to do that. And as I said, no holes in the levee. And that opens up the door for what happens if something happens in Mississippi. So that's it. I hope it didn't create too much alarm or too much boredom or anything. But that's the story. I think the Mississippi River formed the city of New Orleans, formed the state of Louisiana. So in the process of time, between natural circumstances and things we've done, is gradually eroded away. And how we can fix it, I don't know. I don't know. Some things you wonder if they are fixable. They're just such a grand scale. I just don't know.